Long ago, there lived a good and decent couple by the name of Mick and Judy Flanagan. Now, Mick and Judy, they had 3 delightful, hard-working sons, but they had a 4th son as well. This son was cut from a different cloth altogether. His skin was greenish-grey, pale and sickly, and though he ate more than his 3 brothers put together, he never even had the energy to get out of bed in the morning. He was stuck in bed for all his life. Now, being the doting, hard-working parents they were, well, Mick and Judy, they set himself up a lovely little bed in front of the fireplace, so he'd never be cold. Word in small rural parishes tends to travel quickly. The people began to whisper that this child was not Mick and Judy's at all, that this was a fairy baby, a changeling left in the child's place, and changelings always leave with bad luck. So they pleaded with Mick and Judy to get him checked out by the local priest, to see if the priest might have some sort of cure, and some of the neighbours suggested other cures themselves. Older cures. Darker cures. To catch him on the nose with a pair of red-hot tongs so the fairy would be forced to tell its secrets. To put him on a shovel over the fireplace so the fairy would go up the chimney. Or to take him over the local river. Fairies hate to cross running water. Now, being the good and decent people that they were, Mick and Judy weren't going to do anything like that to their son. Life just had to go on as normal, but one day, an old piper came by the house to play some tunes in exchange for some money. He set himself up across the fireplace from the boy, and he began to play. And as he played, well, the most astonishing thing happened. This boy of only a few years old, who never so much as move a muscle if it wasn't for food, he suddenly sat bolt upright in bed and began to grasp at the air in front of him, grabbing at the pipes, and the piper, he sensed the boy wanted to go, so he gave the pipes over to the boy, and this boy, of only 5 years old, who never so much as seen a set of uilleann pipes before in his life, he began to play the pipes as if he'd been playing them for 50-odd years. The music he played was incredible. It was like anything that his parents and the piper had ever heard before, and delighted that her son finally had some sort of talent. Well, Mick and Judy, they went out the very next day, and they got him his own set of pipes. Now, word, as I said, in small rural parishes always travels quickly. This boy was easily the greatest pipes player that Tipperary had ever seen. People began to come from far and wide for a chance to listen to his playing. He knew every tune you asked of him. Anything you gave him, he would play with incredible dexterity. There was something magical about his playing. When he played the jig, the fox hunt, it was as if you could hear the sound of foxes scampering in the distance, the sound of the hunt dogs yowling and barking, the sound of the clipping of the hooves of the horses against the forest floor, and when you closed your eyes, even if you were in the warmest of rooms, you'd feel a cold forest breeze on your face, as if you were there in the middle of it all. But there was one other tune that the boy liked to play. A strange, rambunctious jig of his own device. One that the neighbours didn't like so well. But when he played this tune, it was as if everything around him was forced to dance. The cups and saucers in the cabinet would begin to jingle and jangle. The very cabinets and shelves themselves would start to rock from one leg to another, and the people weren't spared either. Young, old, rich, poor, boy, girl, all of them forced to dance. Now they dance and dance as the music went on. This music, it would get faster and faster and livelier and livelier. The people, they begin to lose control of their bodies. They find themselves barreling into each other, falling on the floor, their limbs still twitching in accordance with the boy's music. And the boy, he would be sat on the bed, cackling at the bedlam that he caused. Not a great laugh. And as the boy grew older, his playing only grew more and more mischievous. Judy would come home from getting the groceries, and she'd find her chickens in a line in the yard dancing a two-step. She'd look over towards her neighbour's farm and see her sheep up on their hind legs dancing a river dance. She'd look over towards her neighbour's field and she'd see his great brown bull up on its hind legs dancing like Michael Flatley on the Eurovision. Pretty soon, she'd find herself being forced to drop her bags of groceries and dance there in place, unable to stop herself until the boy himself stopped playing. And as you can imagine, forcing farm animals to dance, day in, day out, for hours on end, is not particularly good for their health. Cattle and sheep in the local area began to die. One evening, the landlord came calling. "Mick," he said, "ever since that boy of yours was born, I've lost 15 sheep to blackleg. I've lost 17 sheep to red waterlook. I can't hack it anymore. Either the boy goes, or all of you have to go." Being the good parents they were, well, Mick and Judy weren't going to abandon their son. So life went on as normal. They packed up their things. They found work with a farmer who lived a few miles down the road, and they began the process of gathering up all their chairs and tables and cabinets, stacking them up upon a horse and cart, tying them down with thick, strong rope. They set off towards their new house. The journey was uneventful. That is, until they came upon a bridge. Not a bridge you'd ever really have noticed, mind, for it was quite overgrown. But on this occasion, the water was high and loud. You could hear it gurgling and gushing as you came upon the bridge. You might remember what I told you about fairies and running water. As they came upon the bridge, this boy, he began to look quite distressed. His eyes grew wide, his brow furrowed. He began to make these awful wailing, bawling noises, like a dying cat. Now, Judy looked behind herself. "Wish, Delanna," she said. "There's nothing for you to be worried about here. We're just going over this bridge." But the boy couldn't be consoled. That is, until the first wheel of that horse and cart touched the bridge's surface, and the boy grew deathly silent. And he began to lean out over the edge of the bridge. And then he did something he'd never done before in his life. He cleared his throat and he spoke. "You old drip! What a terrible thing you've done to bring me here! How could you do this to me, your most beloved and most talented son? Aren't you an awful mother and father after all? I never want to see either of you again for as long as I live!" Now, Mick and Judy looked behind themselves in total confusion as this boy, he began to rant and rave and use the most obnoxious of language. And then this boy did another thing he'd never done before in his life. He got up on his own 2 feet and he began to dance. And as he danced, he played that strange rambunctious jig of his. Everything around him began to dance as well. The chairs, the tables and cabinets, they began to vibrate within those ropes. And those thick, strong ropes, they came undone. A tidal wave of furniture crashed upon the ground. He rode that wave of furniture like a surfboard, heading down towards the edge of that bridge. He looked towards his parents. He gave them a quick salute. He jumped from that bridge into the water below. The water itself seemed to dance with him. A wave came up and he danced upon the crest of that wave, getting sent down swirling eddies and whirlpools until he was gone beyond the bend and out of sight. And this boy was never seen by human eyes again, but it isn't thought that he died. No. It's thought that he went back to his true family, the good folk, the fairies. And he still lives with them in their fairy hills to this day. And maybe, if you go down by that strange little stream in County Tipperary, and the water is high and loud from rain the night before, and if you lean out over the edge of the bridge and listen a moment, and the wind is blowing in just the right way, you might hear a strange rambunctious tune on the breeze. and feel, for just a moment, the urge